Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
And I'm Travis.
Alliance Assemble.
Assemble.
Volume 289, and we are, 11 episodes away from 300. You all at Travis is returning to us this week. I've been off for 2 weeks. He subbed in for me last week when I was coming back from vacation. David is out on assignment this week, and but we are very much glad to have you back. And looking forward to you actually talking about content, because those who don't know, Travis has a very unfortunate history when he comes in on Marvel Alliance. Usually it ends up being when whoever he's subbing for, didn't matter who it was, me, Brent, other Travis, now David.
David.
It would always be a week that, hey, we're doing an evergreen topic, or the news was just, so. But, David felt bad, and he said, you know what, I have a long night ahead of me. I've got a lot of stuff with work. Let's throw Travis a bone so he can maybe break this curse. And why not have him join me for the Spider-Man trailer breakdown?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, when David asked me, Chris, last week, I thought that somehow they'd pull the Spider-Man trailer back at a certain point. So I'm glad that we've got to see it. It wasn't a dream. And I'm actually here talking about good content, not She-Hulk, the episode before Daredevil shows up.
Yep. So I mean, then we'll have a couple of good weeks going on with Daredevil. So even if the news is light, we'll have Daredevil for a good couple of weeks. But yep, David is in the chat saying good evening, gents. Happy birthday to me. Yes, it is my birthday. I'm a little older, a little wiser. And thank you, Travis, for filling in. So, but yeah. Yes, so yes, Bear, no comic book homework tonight. You're probably already ahead, though. You are ahead now. But yes, we will get back to Comic Book Club officially when David returns next week. So thank you all for bearing with us at that point. But again, Comic Book Club, it's always there. It's always a good time to start reading at that point. But we've got a trailer breakdown, so you may no homework assignment tonight, but we've got a good trailer breakdown. So, but how have you been this week, Travis?
I've been good, Chris. Like you mentioned earlier about our 300th episode, we've been tiptoeing around that for a couple weeks. I've been just doing some digging. We're going to talk about some of the older episodes leading up to 300, and yeah, some of the places DC's been in the last 5-6 years is pretty crazy. Also, pretty crazy to think we both have done almost 300 episodes. But besides that, tomorrow's Friday, so I can't really complain. I'm happy that the week is over. What about yourself?
Well, as we said, today's my birthday. If you're watching live, that would be Thursday, my birthday. If you're listening to this after that, well, it was my birthday. 42 years young.
Don't look a day
Been
over
around the
30,
block a
my
few
friend.
times. Seen some stuff at that point, but yeah, getting it's been a good week. We had some really rough storms come through the area that involved no school on Monday. Luckily, thankfully, nothing happened that was too. We had some tornadoes touch down outside of our area, but it was dangerous enough to, making the right call to always safety in mind. So, but yeah, the week's been good coming back from break, and looking forward to a nice warm weekend. I don't know how warm it's getting where you are right now.
We're getting snow tonight, and it's minus. And the last week it was in the pluses, so it's all over the place here on this island, as per usual. But we just honestly wake up and take the day as it comes because the weather could change on a dime. We don't thankfully have those kind of storms that you have, but we have various different weather cycles.
Yeah, it's one of those where who wants to deal with it. But yes, overall, happy to be back. Looking forward to breaking down the Spider-Man trailer. So let us get that underway. Before that, we got to do our lovely network plug. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our dollar tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows. We've got a couple of shows in the backlog. We got Marvel Alliance. We can watch this all day. The Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch, Tales from the House of X, where we rewatch our favorite films from the Fox era of X-Men, and then we've got the Baxter broadcast, the Fantastic Four retro film reviews. You all at DC Alliance have got your DC film through the years. Joe's got his Multiverse Minutes Disney deep dives, looking at the Disney animated classics in chronological order on the 1st and 15th of every month, and some lovely back content that the patrons, we hope you are enjoying. We can't do this without your support, so we want to thank you. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, we would love for you to go to www.patreon.com/GUA network to get to join the Geek Ultimate Alliance and hopefully, enjoy all that lovely content we got. I don't even know how much content's on there, but it's a lot. But if you're not a member of our Patreon and can't join it, we totally understand. But if you want to take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get those, lovely podcasts, again, it's, wherever you get lots of different areas. And, we want to say last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, panelboundcomics.com for your omnibus hardcover collected editionees. JP and the crew at PBC have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. This is probably getting to be the last week for the early bird cutoff for the final order cutoff of these new pre-orders. We're talking about Brand New Day. We'll get that pre-order locked in for the Art of the Movie that's going to be on sale in August. We've got Legion Omnibus coming back into print. We've got Spider-Man by Chip Zdarsky, Blood Hunt, Poe Dameron Omnibus, lots of different things coming at you. We've got 2 codes you can use. Marvel GUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use MGUA SIT to get 5% when you order 4 or more books together. We want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right. So get that there. And take that there off the screen. And so, the moment is upon us. And thank you, Bear's Lair, for the birthday wishes.
I like the level up day. I might have to steal
Yes,
that. Bears Lair.
that is his thing. That's his anyone's birthday. It's always a level up day, and you have
I like that.
a particular affinity of a level up day. Right? You're gonna level up there, Flash.
Oh, oh, we are the Flash. Oh my God! Just the first season was so good. Yeah.
Well, let's talk
Let's
about
watch
something
something
that
good.
really, yes. So, but yes, so we've been hearing about this since last week. Lots of rumors. It kept on getting discussed, and lot of scooper madness. You never know what to believe, but it was gaining traction that the first official teaser trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day was dropping this week. Once we found out that the Dune 3 trailer was dropping on Tuesday, well, we figured at that point it was going to be dropping the next day. At least, there's friendly competition, but they're also not going to take away from each other's fan base. But so, before we break it down, what was your kind of high level thoughts on the first teaser?
I can't believe how much I smiled through this, seeing how lonely and sad Peter was throughout the majority of this.
Ouch.
But then I realized and remembered one of my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy before that was when he was leaving for Spider-Man in the first film and has to watch all his friends playing and enjoying. And I just got the with great power comes great responsibility vibes. And the same thing here, Chris, when we get into the trailer, but that's the vibe that I got. That and I just kept thinking after the second half of the trailer, neogenic recombinator. I don't know why, but that just kept popping into my head. Uh, and yeah, I just love this trailer. I can't wait to get into it. And this Spider-Man seems like we're just building off the past events of the prior 3, and this is a little bit more street level vibe for the film. So, which I'm glad coming off the multiverse madness we had of the last one.
Yep. So this title is based off of this storyline event, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. This is actually the first volume of the omnibus. There are 2 that are released. A third one on its way that concludes this saga of Brand New Day. It is a time in Spider-Man that is post that a little event that shall not be necessarily developed, where we'll just call it where Mephisto basically Peter Parker makes a deal with Mephisto to end his marriage in order to save his aunt's life, and that the world would forget who Spider-Man is, outside of the ones who do officially know. So no more marriage, ending a long history of that. Peter Parker and Mary Jane are no longer married. They were together at one point, but we actually covered One Moment in Time, which is a follow up to One More Day at that point. So we are, it's just based on that kind of idea of a new beginning for Peter. There's also another comic that we'll be referencing towards the end of this trailer of what's happening to Peter that they seem to be kind of homaging and bringing forward. But so let's pull up the trailer. I'm like you. I was just very happy. I've seen this a bunch of times already. Makes me very excited for it. But this officially picks up 4 years later from No Way Home.
Which is quite a time jump when you think about it. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
quite a jump for the characters. So I hope we don't have too much fill in between. I hope it still keeps the pace up of the film.
All right, so we are pulling it up now.
Sad vibes.
Yep. So we see trailer opens as we see Peter Parker in his new Spider-Man suit sporting that shiny new web shooter sitting upside down on the skyscraper as we see New York skyline no longer hanging upside down with friends or anyone. He is alone. And now he's watching that social media post by Ned and MJ, excited to start at MIT, but this is 4 years later, so we don't know if there's going to be a time, if this is seeing in the present when he did see it and then it's going to flash forward 4 years later, or he's just seeing, you know, reliving what was done 4 years later at that point, because he's in New York, so, and we're going to see he's going to be in the same, they're going to come back to New York, so I don't know if there's going to be a time jump or anything like that, but obviously MJ admits that she's never been happier than ever before, but Peter's not with her, and he's
Which has
being
got
left
to be a
behind.
gut punch, Chris. It got to be
Oh
a
yeah,
gut punch because
you see it in his
she doesn't
face.
really express that. And I will say, jumping into what you just said, I do think, just thinking about it, this might be, we get a cold open like this where he watches that, and then after he takes down some bad guys or something on the street, though, then we go to 4 years later, maybe.
Yeah, that
That's
would
probably
be kind of my thing, because after watching a bunch of times, that why would they, again 4 years later, why would we be watching something 4 years ago and we're jumping ahead and they're back in New York? So I think you're right. I think we're going to get that kind of montage that we kind of see at the end of this trailer of him
yes,
fighting
yes.
bad guys and going forward. So I think that's a very good theory. I do subscribe to that. But this is a new Peter that we haven't gotten before. You hear sirens in the background. He sighs, puts that mask on, and says, "Going back to work." And as we get down to this, he takes that fall.
This is
I
cool
just want to say
shot coming up.
the suit looks amazing. The
Yeah,
cloth suit, it looks amazing. This is the suit that he's no longer tech. It's one that he has designed. It's not outfitted with all star tech or anything like that. This is Peter going back to formula, as it were.
no gadgets either. Just seems like
Yep.
him and his web shooters. That's it.
So this is the first time we've kind of shot from in the mask, seeing his eyes as he free falls, highlighting the change of character as since the world has forgotten about Peter Parker. We don't see this perspective very much, outside of, it's very much
Iron Man.
Iron Man-esque,
Yeah, yeah. I was
but
thinking the same thing.
he's emotionless. He's focused on being the hero, but he's clearly chained by the one he loves, and he's trapped in the role of Spider-Man in this new suit. And this is the thing I'm going to point out a few times. He does not have a life outside of Spider-Man, and that is one of the
No.
most dangerous times for Peter Parker, for any hero. If they're even the ideas of any hero just in general, Superman's dealt with it, things like that, but when Peter goes fully in and just goes into just being Spider-Man, it is never ends up in a good result. Even Batman's tried it in the comics, and it just turns. I mean, Batman can be a royal jerk a lot of times, but when he just says, "I'm just gonna be Batman the whole time," that's not a good thing. He needs
No,
Bruce Wayne. Spider-Man needs Peter Parker. Superman needs the Clark Kent. They need their alternate, but he has no one. So he's in a very unique position where Nobody knows who he is. The people he love and care about don't know who he is. He is out there alone. So this is the only thing he can hold on to.
And the reverse has happened in comics as well, where Peter will try to get rid of his Spider-Man side. Like I remember the old school comics where he tried to make an antidote for himself, and he spread out the arms, and it became not Sweet Man Spider, but I'll say like Six Armed Spider-Man. Like
Yep.
that happens too when he tries to get rid of the spider side. So, like you said, this is just a reverse of this, where he's fully in on Spider-Man and nothing with Peter Parker. Like nobody knows who he is.
Yep. But I think that was a cool shot at that point.
Hearing him breathing really adds to that.
Yep.
And
So
being
he's
upset
reading
with it.
that note. He's reading that note where that he was going to give to MJ. Saying, "I'm Peter Parker. You don't remember me. We used to know each other, but something bad was going to happen. Everyone forgot who I was. But because I'm not just Peter Parker, I'm Spider-Man." And he's saying this monologue, and who walks in? He sees. Who does he see?
Well, I thought you meant who walked into the apartment. I was like, nobody. No. Oh my, Ned. But Ned looks
Yeah,
not exactly like he used to look. The years have
yeah.
made him look a
He's
little different.
the actor has lost some weight in real life at that point. So, um,
I just meant his face. He seems more like his hair is down, and I
yep.
don't know, a little bit of a different vibe. That's all.
But look how I'm sorry. Look how bad Peter looks. Peter looks bad. Like bags under his eyes. He sees his friend, and you can see him just longing to want to call out to him and just give him a hug, but he can't.
Because it'll be weird for this random
Yeah.
guy to come up and talk to me, and you don't even know him from school. Because if you recall the end of the previous movie, all of the school trips and that blot, like he's not in any of them really. He is, but you can't see his face or anything, so none of his classmates remember him either.
Yeah. And we see him sitting by the wash machine, washing his spider suit. Um, a first for the web crawler because we've only seen him use tech suits.
Yeah, even in the comics, he had to do this and put a bag over his head while he's washed his clothes back in the old days.
All right. I'm not the
Waiting for
only
you
one
to
who's
stop
pointed
on
this
that.
out. We know, based on what we've heard, is that the Spider-Man Brand New Day takes place after Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So, if you don't want what we are assuming is a inadvertent spoiler that they've decided to put out here, um, disappear for about like 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Spider-Man's getting his key to the city. Usually, you get the key to the city from the mayor.
Yeah,
And this is the mayor's kind of, I wouldn't call her deputy or anything, like kind of right hand person, but she is handing him this, and it's not Kingpin. So what's happened with Kingpin? We also know that the showrunner of Born Again season 2 has said that they will conclude the Mayor Kingpin storyline in season 2. Conclude just means bring it to a close. We don't know what's going to happen to Kingpin. We don't know if it's going to be mayor. We just said that storyline is going to be concluded. But is she the mayor? Is she just like presenting the key on the mayor's behalf? We're jumping to assumptions that just saying she's the mayor, but I don't think that's a jumping to conclusion that is far outside the realm of possibility. Because again, who usually gives the key to the city? The mayor.
she is 100% the mayor. Like the
Yeah,
Kingpin is not going to be mayor after this season of like hunting down the heroes. Like that's going to end not well for him. I do think he's going to transition himself into more of the Kingpin role that we've known him as with the white suit in the background. I think he's going to say something like holding mayor's office. Like that's not power to me. Like that's too out in the open. I got to be behind the scenes from now on. I do think we can see something like that where he's a bit more like the comic book counterpart rather than like he's been right out in the open this entire show run
yeah.
as a businessman.
I see Ned and MJ just watching it, and it almost looks like MJ is kind of longing for something. What do you think? Like
Oh
like
yeah,
she's
like
trying to sort something out.
Chris, we don't hang on those looks that long if we're not trying to tell the audience something with this, and that's exactly what they're trying to say. Is like she still feels something inside of her, but she can't explain what that is or why that is.
Yeah, it's the big debate going on is like by the end is the spell going to be broken? We don't know. We'll help you kind of some ideas we'll think about.
Reverse Mephisto.
Yeah. So we see him looking at this key, but I think he's kind of looking at this key as like this means nothing to me. Like
I can't share it with
like it's a
anybody.
cool yeah. He can't celebrate. May's dead. Nobody remembers who he is. He's got no friends or anything like that. Like my question is, what is he doing for money? Like that's what I'm going to be very curious about is what is he doing to make money in order
I think we
to
get
live in
a.
this apartment?
I think we get an explanation of. Wait, I'm not sure if that's his apartment though. I can't. Actually, maybe it's not. So yeah, never mind. Scratch my explanation. I thought he would just be working for the Bugle, but
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's Spider-Man. That's his full focus, and so that's all he can do.
sold May's house.
I mean, that's just a cool shot, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again,
Yeah,
super street level, which I love.
and I also like the instrumental version of the Spider-Man. It's it. I like it because it's a mix of like kind of a little happy, but also a little melancholy, a little sad for what's going on with Peter.
I did go humming that the rest of the day after watching this. And yeah, this looks great. I do like the action we've seen so far in the swinging. And there we go.
There we go. Yeah, we got to go back. And he gets hit by the Punisher mobile. Frank Castle, we know he was cast in this. We see our first look at Frank Castle returning as the Punisher. Now we don't know when his special presentation mini movie is coming out. My guess is I don't know if it's going to come up immediately after Born Again or after Spider-Man. I don't know. They like sometimes spreading these things out a bit, but we have no official release time on that. Um, but I
After
love it.
Spider Man, but before Avengers is my guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to really end up happening, just to kind of say, oh, Punisher, what's this about? Um, and it's cool just because the first appearance of Punisher was in Spider-Man, was in a Spider-Man comic. So it is kind of that homage, but obviously they've encountered each other because he's like, what the hell, Frank?
And he got the door window with the little slide slot that he can stick his gun out of and not break his whole
Yep.
windshield, which is awesome and funny what
Yeah.
happens after.
And the thing is, only Frank would need to think that because how many times is he going to need to shoot straight out and keep on replacing windshields? But he's got this little grenade launcher, and Spider-Man webs it up, and Frank's got a perfect response. Suit yourself. Bam!
Shoots them. I do love this. This is awesome.
And I
That
love
lead,
how he just kicks him through the window, and just that's a cool move for Peter to do.
it's awesome, and he's like, "Go home, Frank," which is like classic Spider-Man. I just again got so much. This is part of why I was grinning, but it's all over the place here. This is fun, but we also know he's not in the greatest headspace, even though he's doing this stuff.
Yeah, like he quit your whimpering, and he begs to drop the MF line on him, but Peter webs him up, and I think that's what people worried about with how are they going to nerf the Punisher in this, and it's one of the things that they're gonna be tongue in cheek about this. This doesn't mean that Frank Castle is going to be forever nerfed at this point. There's going to be a special
No.
presentation that's basically rated R. That's what it is. And John Bernthal has been so protective of doing the character that he wouldn't have agreed to be in this if he didn't feel that there was some kind of balance that it still preserved who his interpretation of the character is, which I think, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the best interpretation of Frank Castle in live action.
Oh, I agree about the best interpretation of Frank Castle in live action, but also when Spider-Man and Punisher team up, Spider-Man tries to stop Punisher from having a lot of casualties or like
Mhm.
killing, just like Daredevil does. Like that's something that's part of this. And again, Frank, I've seen Punisher interact with Spider-Man in animation and in comics, and I do see sometimes where Punisher does lighten up his way of things when he teams up with Spider-Man. Like not
Yeah.
super crazy, but like again, I do think this is work. And like you said, Bernthal is very uh, protective of the character, so I don't think he's just going into anything for a payday or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be very cool to see how both Spider-Man and Frank, you know, how basically Spider-Man annoys him with his quips, getting in his way,
Hmm.
stopping him from getting his target. It's at least clear that we're getting the same thing, but Spider-Man isn't a fan of the way Punisher deals with the situation. He'd rather handle it on his own. And obviously, as like I said, they've encountered each other before, so he knows who he is. But he
Yeah.
doesn't want to take him to jail. So that's interesting, though. He webs him up. He webs his mouth, but leaves him to be. He doesn't try to web him up and leave him for the cops.
We also
So
got to remember that
Pete,
this is coming off the events of Daredevil season 2, because that is before Spider-Man, right? So
yeah,
it, we don't know how Frank ends up after, like he might have a better position in terms of the public sentiment for New York City after taking out
yeah,
Kingpin's operation. So like I don't know how Spider-Man views him after that either, because he's basically been killing everybody before this. So who knows how the events of Daredevil season 2 will affect this? I know it does. So
yeah. I'm telling him to go home.
Heartbreak City.
So yeah, so he says that it even yes, Peter Parker, that he has to make those sacrifices, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. And so we see he's at a party, a house party, and he sees MJ getting close to someone who is played by Iman Esfandi, and he plays Ezra in Ahsoka. So this time, but without the beard. A lot of
Yeah.
people have theorized that he is playing the character of Paul, which is a very much loathed character, new character in the comics that spoiler alert, used to be tied to MJ. They have since now broken up. She has broken up with
Shocked.
him. I know,
Shocked.
yeah, but they're not. But that's not getting Peter and MJ together. That hasn't. They're still trying to be friends at this point. But there's a Mary Jane being Venom is not something that I had on my bingo card for this year.
No,
So
and
yeah,
even in the
that's a story.
game
That's
too.
that's a talk for another day. But yeah, so we knew this was going to be inevitable. That MJ was going to be tied to someone in this movie that was going to like tear out Peter's heart.
Yeah, it's rough, but again, that's part of no, that's one of my favorite scenes in the first trilogy is tearing out his heart because he wants to be with Liz, but has to go do Spider-Man stuff. And right here's the exact same thing. He wants to tell her, well, it's not exact same. He just don't want to tell her because of what could happen to her because she knows Spider-Man's identity.
Yep.
So he thinks he's protecting her, but most time in all comics when we see this, it doesn't work out, and so here we see why.
Yep. So yeah, he falls down saying, "What's happening to me?" All of a sudden collapses, wakes up, and is in a cocoon outside. So a couple of things with this. So this is what I think is one of the most fascinating things. Now we heard rumors of this early on in filming that they were going to be Peter was going to be changing, Peter was going to be evolving in this, and we thought, oh, like becoming the hero, without the tech. No, it's going to be that like he's going through a metamorphosis, kind of like how what sometimes the spider does. We're going to see different things. Now, when he does this, you hear the web shoot come out, but we don't see it. I'm very confused by this because we know at this point he's gaining the ability to have organic webbing. You
Yes,
know,
100%.
because look when we get to the next sequence, and just saying the man's in tip top shape. He I mean, we knew Tom Holland has gotten in shape for a Spider-Man role, but I think he's taken it to a new level with this.
Oh, agreed, agreed.
And so he's grabbing onto something. Clearly he's. I mean, look at those arms. I'm jealous. I'll tell you that much.
And I mean,
Um,
who's to say it's not possibly that black goo?
it could be.
I
I
mean,
put a
I
I
think
put
it's
a fact.
organic web shooters, but
I mean, yeah, I put the factor fiction out there a couple weeks ago that we're gonna see some sort of another hint towards the symbiote, but I don't think it's gonna be until towards the end of the movie. But this is the metamorphosis. He's going to now gain organic webbing. Now I remember in the movies with um Tobey Maguire, that one of the things that irked a lot of us comic book fans was that, wait a minute, he's getting organic webbing. That's not Spider-Man. Then one of the things that made Spider-Man so cool and unique was that he had to make his own web shooters. He's a scientist. That's how he kind of, always think that he could run out because he doesn't have enough cartridges. But then they brought that. I can't remember if it was before or after they brought comics. So what they're hinting at in this kind of metamorphosis and changing. There's a storyline in the Spider-Man comics called The Other, and it basically kind of goes through. Peter Parker does go through this metamorphosis. It is tied to the idea of the spider totems that throughout the multiverse, different Spider-Man characters are a totem. If very much the Spider-Verse movies kind of deal with this a little bit, but this deals with the Inheritors, Moreland, the vampires that feed off the spider totems at that point. So I don't think we're gonna go that deep into it, but I think they're taking the idea of what the other storyline brought into, and not only enhancing. Not only the organic web shooters was a big change, his spider senses were escalated to the level 11. His strength was done. His webbing improved. I mean, you literally see in part of the trailer, his webbing is going to break apart swords, and is going to be able to handle things that he was not. The webbing was strong to begin with, but because it wasn't. It was tech based, so it could only be so strong.
And I would appreciate it more in a TV series. I think if he had his own web shooters, because then if he handled different villains, he could like change his web shooters around. Like if he's going against Hydro Man and stuff like that, like you could change them around. But when you're in the movies, like that's not kind of something that you usually do, like as a storyline. So like I'm okay with this organic shooters. I don't think you're going to touch the spider totems with a 10-foot pole after Madam Web. So I just think it'll just be like Spider Metamorphosis, or maybe the stress of just focusing solely on Spider-Man and not on Peter Parker causing this. And
Well, the
I
good
don't
thing
think
is
it'll
the
be.
spider totems. You don't need to introduce Madam Web necessarily immediately with
No,
that. You
I
could
just
you could bring it. You could bring in Moreland and the Inheritors, and not have to touch on Madam Web for a little bit.
and let
But
it breathe a little bit more. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, before we continue breaking down the rest of the show, we're gonna take our first ad break. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud. Let's give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, continuing on, he's obviously gonna want to figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So he's
And
getting scanned now. If you look at what it's gonna say on the screen, superior. It says enhanced human detected, superior strength, superior ability, heightened senses, enhanced perception. So he's getting, we know all this stuff, but it's interesting. He's getting scanned like this, and who could possibly be helping him out? Well, we're about to see. Dr. Bruce Banner, I need your help. So we knew that Mark Ruffalo was going to be the quote unquote mentor for this. Every single movie's had some sort of mentor, and Bruce Banner is now a professor at ESU, which is Empire State University, which is basically the MCU's version of NYU. Now I don't know if Peter's going to ESU. He does in the comics is a student from ESU.
he was
Um,
also getting his GED at the end of Spider-Man
he
trilogy.
was so that he could either just be wearing it to kind of pass as a student, or he could be legitimately going there. He is Dr. Banner in the background. He is teaching about latest quantum dynamics, and while I honestly have no clue what that means, it definitely sounds like it connects with the quantum dynamics, the quantum realm. So now we're getting Ant-Man. Now we're getting Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings post credit. Um, he's also wearing something on his hand that we were kind of introduced to in She-Hulk that allows him to return to his human form and not have to worry about the Hulk. But we also have heard that this movie will witness the return of Savage Hulk. So
Oh yes, so something's going to happen with that. I wonder if the hand have anything to do with it. I'm curious.
yeah. And he says, "What do you say your name was?" Now, on screen, Peter Parker and Bruce Banner have never met. Bruce Banner has met Spider-Man,
They were both at the funeral.
but we don't know if they ever had one could assume they got an introduction, but we never saw, hi, I'm Peter Parker. Hi, I'm Bruce
Yeah,
Banner. We never saw that. That never
yeah.
happened on screen. So yes, one could yes, they were at the funeral, but nothing was ever seen on screen. So, but we could say yes, they've introduced and things like that, just going on to the idea. But in comics,
Yes.
Hulk remembered Peter, and he calls out. He knows who Spider-Man is as Hulk. Bruce Banner, a little different. The brain separation is different. So, be interesting if they
Maybe they'll
call that
call
out.
that. Maybe they call that back. Yeah.
Yeah. So senses are going haywire because now they're at a more extreme level. It's going to be interesting to see.
It's Spider-Man the
Web,
animated series vibes a little bit, where it goes like, oh,
yep, webbed up around the room. He's getting used to his new organic webbing. Um, he's saying the mutation is getting enormously dangerous. Now the question is, what is pulling Peter like this? I think he's facing the
HULK.
Hulk.
Yeah,
Yep, I think
Hulk.
he's facing the Hulk.
Oh, for sure.
See
Just
him.
send him that far.
Yeah, we see him at the grave of May.
Can we pause for one
Um,
second to
yep.
talk about the fact that we gotta give a little bit of credit to Keith David because his voice is awesome, and I love his narration about the spiders' life cycles and stuff. Like it just,
Yeah, he's
it's like
saying
Spide's
spiders got
telling me about it.
spiders got 3 cycles. When between cycles, they can leave the spider vulnerable to threats, and for those spiders who make it through, it amounts to a kind of rebirth.
Mhm.
So this is Keith David. You are exactly right. We don't know if he's watching or going to be going through a museum, hearing about this. It could be a voice we haven't heard. Keith David is a fish. We know it's his voice. It's very distinctive, like you said. I have a feeling he's watching something about spiders and things like that, and Keith David just happens to be. Also, one thing in this trailer we don't see Tombstone. This is not a trailer that introduces Tombstone at all. That's gonna definitely come with the next one.
Oh, 100%. We
Yeah.
might even get him for the first minute of the trailer. I doubt it though. But Spider-Man has you have this Spider-Man there. That
Yeah.
was
So we're gonna see in a little bit a person locked up wearing a green outfit in a well-furnished containment suit who's eager to get out. Buildings exploding all around. Huge reveal about to be happening. So we don't know who's. So we don't know who that is. That's Sadie Sink.
yeah, 100%.
That's Sadie Sink. That's the first. We don't know, but those hands are very 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 much female hands.
Do we have confirmation of who she's playing yet?
Nope.
Okay. Thinking
Nope.
it's Typhoid Mary.
So, but we do get him like, the cops are there. He's opening up this tank and
And then
sees an old woman who's running the tank, looking very confused. And this whooshes goes over, and something takes over this cop. Smiles, whooshes up. Now, this is we're gonna say Sadie Sink has been very much hinted at. She is going to be the MCU's introduction to Jean Grey. She is Jean Grey.
that's
Um,
really
it's yeah, really. That's the biggest hint.
okay.
Yeah, that's been the biggest talk, and I know. And again, it could be completely off, but there's been more and more. Not just because everyone was like, "Oh, of course she's Jean Grey. She got red hair." That's not just a lot of the stuff that has been hinted around. That's the biggest thing. Could she be Jean Grey? Could be someone else. But this kind of power set, Jean has the ability to, take over mind. She is an Omega level mutant in the comics. She has that higher telekinesis ability to have this. Now, why is she taking over other minds? I don't know. But there's also been the idea that Frank is also trying to protect her. That's who he's trying to go after to protect her.
Okay, so these people are going after her, and yeah, Frank. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we get our first look at Tremella Tillman, who is the head of damage control, saying we're faced with a danger that we can't control, one that we can't even see. So the character that we saw in the containment later seems to raise their arms. This is the secrets being close to the chest, but with people being controlled. The green coat, yellow hoodie feels a lot like, I think it's Jean Grey. But, again, it could be. we could be it could be something else, but we were smelling smoke. Now, um, the new head of the the DODC obviously looks like he's trying to work with Spider-Man, but I don't trust him. I think he's going to turn on him when Spider-Man realizes what he's up to.
Oh,
Especially
100%.
if he's trying to trying to control and and imprison the Sadie Sink's character.
Yeah, and I don't think he's whatever. If Frank's against them, then yeah, they're
Yep.
not. Ooh,
And we get our first look at the return of Michael Mando as Matt Gargan in his full Scorpion suit, and it looks pretty awesome.
yeah, it's. I'm digging it, and I just want to see how he gets turned into Scorpion.
Yeah, I just want to look at that. Bam. It's Frank saying you're losing it, kid.
And here,
Yep. So yeah, we get this shot of Spider-Man and MJ on a rooftop.
looks like there's
Do
lingering the
yeah,
hitness with them. Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if by the end the genie's gonna get out of the bag and people are gonna start. One of them being MJ is gonna be the spell's gonna be broken. I don't
well,
know.
you do know if that happens, like it'll be at the very end, and right after she finds out, or just before, it will cut to like incursions coming around, and then he gets transported to whatever's going on with the Avengers.
Yeah. So you get the webbing.
I love this. Bangs
So we
into the
get
windows.
our
He doesn't notice.
Amazing Fantasy 15 cover shot, and we knew Daniel Destin had been trying to. We saw in his trailers and screenshots that he was having comic covers, famous images of Spider-Man that he wanted to get into this movie. Now, I'm with a lot of people. These aren't necessarily translated really well in this trailer. It looked it the CG, or at least how it's being filmed, they're done, looks a little sketch. It's not crisp right now. Which again, it's just the first teaser. Plenty of time to hone it up. I just hope they do hone this up because it's just like we could do better.
It's going to still be a little bit before this film's
Yeah.
released, like July, right? So
Yeah. So we get another screenshot and we get another splash page from the
yeah,
comics. This is him and Tarantula, and we get our first look at the hand.
and
They're in a prison. Spider-Man looks like he's channeling something. He's got some black eyes there. I don't know. Maybe that symbiote comes into action in the movie. Who knows? I'm not there yet. I can
no,
see it, but
same.
I'm not there yet. He takes the webbing and again breaks that sword, which I don't think his webbing was there before.
Uh,
That could do that. That could do that. I'm not necessarily buying that his weapon could have done that before, but this is a different. The hand is looking very different than when we last saw them in Daredevil. But again, the hand has had many different incarnations, and doesn't mean that they could be. All right, now we get this shot, which is a cool shot with Spider-Man face down the hand, and then we get all this
fool
big.
me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. This is gonna lead back to my fact or fiction when we get to that.
Okay,
I'm just gonna
we'll hold
preview
off on
that
that.
there
We won't. I won't even ask you at that point. But I'm along with everyone. Something is there. But the
for
only
sure.
interesting thing is maybe not is I just want to kind of see how they're so everyone seems to kind of be jumping up though. They're all looking up. So that's my only thing that's saying that gives me a little bit of pause saying, yes, that's a lot of open space here. We saw what happened in the No Way Home trailer where we eventually saw all three Spider-Men were in this big open space. But there also was more hints of not everyone was going after one Spider-Man. Now they could have altered this to make it do that, and then when we see the actual cuts, these guys down here were going to be facing someone out here.
Yeah,
Frank,
like they can
Hulk,
move
I don't
those
know,
array.
Jean Grey.
Yeah, they can move those
So
around a little bit. Those guys. So yeah, I do think that there is someone else in this shot.
there could be, but it just seems like at least how they're presenting here, most of them are looking up at Peter. So
Maybe that's them learning from last time where Lizard's head was completely off base.
yeah. Yeah. Aw, housewarming gift. friendly neighbor. And my thing is, what is this? As someone, this like serial killer looking wall, the Spider-Man, little Spider-Man hungry there, little Spider-Man stalk in there.
And that might be what makes him linger back there too. Like she's trying to figure out some feeling she has about Spider-Man.
But I also am a little worried. Like I said, Peter's looking rough. I know it's hard in the sense of like not having any, like losing the people you love the most at that point. But man, if he's really living down the hall from them, if he is constantly like watching for going to the place waiting where Ned goes to eat or things like that, like purposely doing this to himself, that's a certain kind of pain, pain he's inflicting on himself. That's
Torture.
massive. That is a little torture, and I'm worried for Peter at that point. You know, that's it's stalking, let alone other
I was,
things. You
I was
know,
gonna say, what's the best case scenario here? That he's a stalker? Like
no, he is a
it's a
stalker.
rough
I don't
go.
think there's
It's a rough
yeah,
go.
yeah. So, um, but yeah, so it's that was a cool line to end. I think that was a nice little funny tag at the end. You know, the MC movies always do that. People groaning, but that was I thought was good. So, a couple of my final thoughts I would just want to share. You know, there's a lot to take in from this trailer. Main thing is Peter's no longer having a balance. Period. He has no balance at this point. We don't know what he's doing, like I said, for money or anything like that. But the 95%, I'd say over 90% of his life is now Spider-Man. But he's going through this metamorphosis, a mutation, as it were. Destin Daniel Cretton. I know I messed up his name so my apologies. Destin Daniel Cretton is already showcasing his distinctive visual look, channeling what he's done throughout his filmography, doing what he did amazingly well in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The action looks great. Color grading is very fitting. And the movie is taking a huge focus on how Peter's life is changing and how that begins to affect him not only mentally but also physically. So I think
and
I think we're in for a real treat.
and I echo those sentiments. I am excited for this film, Chris. Like I can't wait. I loved what Destin did before, and now him getting into Spider-Man ring. Even the swinging so far, I'm digging. It gives me more Amazing Spider-Man vibes. So I'm all here for this.
Yep. So July 31st in all premium formats. So we'll obviously get at least one. We're gonna get two more trailers. The next one's gonna be the story trailer where we're gonna be more than likely introduced to Tombstone officially.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm still 50-50 on Sadie. Well, I think we're going to see Sadie Sink, but I don't know if it's going to be supposed to be called out as Jean Grey. I think we're going to see Sadie. I don't know if they're going to. I'm a lot less likely to hear the words Jean Grey. I think that one they're going to. I could. But again, I could see them screwing this up and doing what they did in the previous Spider-Man trailers and reveal the whole thing in the next one.
well, I'd be
You know,
shocked if like we don't see a Funko Pop or like the toy come out showing her
Legos.
character. Like I hope not, because I would hope this is the same thing as how they kept Adrian Toomes being Liz's father secret until the film. Like that was a lot. That was better. I was afraid they were going to reveal that in the trailers leading up to it. Uh, like they were able to leak. So the director was afraid of that and even said that. So yeah, the fact that they did this, I'm excited.
As a Bears Lair saying, wonder if we're going to get Peter trying to go to the X-Men to get help with the mutation. Well, we don't know if the X-Men even exist at this point. You know, we haven't
I
gotten
don't
there, and
think
I
they
don't
do.
think I don't think they do either. I think this is the beginnings of it, but I'm on board at this point. I think it's all but one way for an official confirmation. And Sadie Sink is our Jean Grey for the MCU, which again
I
I have
hope
no
that's the
problem with.
case. I hope that's the case, but I'm still not certain yet. And he's going to Banner because Banner in this world is probably one of the more uh, like smart people when it comes to mutations, considering he
Yep.
turns into the Hulk.
And she could be the reason why he goes back into a savage state.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
maybe she's trying to escape too, and she uses
Yep.
him, knocks that little piece off, and bam.
Yeah. So, but all right. So that's our official trailer breakdown. So we do have one news item to kind of go into. It's a lighter story. It's not necessarily a nothing story, but it's kind of it's a little has some interesting parts. Let us go to our next ad break. So listeners, as always, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud. So give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, let me write down this time before I forget. All right, so the only news story this week is coming from looking at a kind of an interview that this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter that entitled Kevin Feige on avoiding internet discourse and the last time he saw Chadwick Boseman. So it was a unique peek behind the curtain. USC celebrated the dedication of the Kevin Feige Division of Film and Television Production at the USC's School of Cinematic Arts. So this is a dedication at this point, but it was interesting because this panel discussion had some pretty big names. You had Kevin Feige, who, again, is very famous for not talking to the press or doing these kind of things unless it's for a project coming out, but he's being honored at that point. But he was joined in this discussion with Ryan Coogler, recent Oscar winner, and also Sean Levy. So all of kind of you got basically the head of Marvel Studios. You've got Ryan Coogler, Black Panther director, and then you got Sean Levy from Deadpool and Wolverine. So um, they kind of talked about the idea. What they brought up first was looking at internet discourse, and you know, we see what James Gunn does with this in threads and everything like that, debunking stuff, and so the question kind of about like how do they handle this kind of things, and so Marvel's always had a back and forth with fans, and on letter pages in the back of the comics. But Kevin Feige said, but it can be wielded with such force now that you have to be aware, Feige noted, referring to the power, the sometimes dark, of fandom on the internet. The volume of what is being said online, if you focus too closely on it, it will crush you, he said, adding that there are hours and hours of theories on YouTube, hours and hours on TikTok, hours on subreddit. You can read everything on everything and get a different point of view on it. You go crazy. We don't do that. Marvel finds the best way to get an early audience feedback is in the movie theater to test screenings. So basically, Feige is saying, I'm not James Gunn. I'm not going to address it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to let the fans do what fans do. And I think, love it or hate it, he's more using it saying, I'm going to let the fans be fans. I'm going to let them do what they do in the like have these theories, great, right or wrong. Either way, they're talking about the product. They're talking about what we're putting out. That's what I think he's kind of saying is that's why I don't like smackdown theories or anything like that. Much to some of our frustration, but I do see his point.
It's the valid point to have, Chris, because you waste your time. If you debunk some and don't debunk others, then they think that those others are real for sure. And it's not a great use of your time as the head of a studio or head. Like, I sometimes I do like James Gunn posting some stuff, but I do think he comments rather too much on there at times, and I think he should be focused on other things. And I think Foggy's giving a pretty good example of that. And also, you don't want to crush all the fan discourse. I found that happened a lot with the Peacemaker show that he was on right after every episode of Peacemaker. It's hard to come up with a lot of theories when you have him explaining the entire episode uh, right afterwards. So you're kind of stuck there. So yeah, I do think less is more at times for James Gunn. I think he's going to learn that, but I do think Kevin Feige was a little bit more front and center the first couple of years of the MCU as well, because we didn't have as many established stars that you can roll out there.
Yeah. He goes on and says it's like this how film students showing their films to their peers for feedback. Only as Feige noted, it happens when you've already spent almost $200 million on a movie and you screen it for people and they're like, what was that? And then panic sets in, chimed in Sean Levy. You panic. You feel terrible, and then you go back to work. Feige admitted to not understanding early in his career that disappointing tests are something filmmakers deal with at every level. He said, I thought we were the only morons that couldn't do it perfectly the first time and had to really work at it to make sure it's great. And turned out that Pixar would do the same thing. It turns out that the most great filmmakers. Feige stopped short, turned to Coogler, asking, "Was Sinners perfect from the first cut?" And Coogler says no, and chuckling, adding, "The most nominated film in Oscar history. I don't know if it's perfect even now, bro." So,
Perfection, the pursuit of perfection.
yep. And so they get into there were other things, but then it came to Chadwick Boseman. Uh, Feige and especially Coogler have not spoken publicly much about the immediate aftermath of the death of Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman, who passed away in 2020 after succumbing to
6
cancer.
years ago, holy
Yeah.
God.
But on Thursday, in front of the crowd, they opened up about those dark times. Feige revealed that during his last in-person meeting with Marvel execs, Boseman expressed how much fun he was having voicing the character of T'Challa, the Black Panther, in the animated show What If, and how he wanted to bring that vibe to the next Panther feature, which ultimately he never got a chance to make. The anecdote served to underscore Feige's broader point about how he took Boseman and, in fact, took other colleagues and friends for granted. He explained on most movies, people work very closely for a period and then may not see each other for years after the movie wraps. But with Marvel, there was always another movie to make, another Panther, another Avengers, another Iron Man around the corner. We'll be back in there. That was always my expectation. So the need to set a dinner or a lunch to say hi, I just never do because we're busy and we're going to see each other next time. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks when I realized there wasn't going to be a next time. Um, that's pretty. I mean, again, Kevin Feige is not the one to necessarily talk. That is pretty impressive for him to kind of share out like that and to take that opportunity to be vulnerable like that.
The most emotion that he's ever shown in an
Yeah.
interview.
Cougar, meanwhile, revealed that in the time after Boseman's death, Feige and Disney CEO Bob Iger flew to the actor's home in Oakland, all while COVID-19 pandemic was still high. They came to our apartment in lockdown, and we walked around the Richmond Arena and um, and just talked. And that was the first real check-in. And said it wasn't, "Hey, what we're gonna do about the franchise." It was about, "Hey, are you okay? How are you taking it?" It was a real moment, and you see humility beyond the corporate things and financial responsibilities. Cougar called that period a profound experience and really tried to learn the lesson of not taking people for granted and not to fall into the "I'll see you next time" mindset. There was only one Chad, bro, and there was only one character that was really meant for him. And again, it's a lesson in life. Everyone says you're never promised tomorrow, so
No,
do whatever you need to do. But that's impressive, especially that Ryan Cougar saying that they came there out of the goodness of their heart to check in on the people, including Bob Iger. Which say what you want about him and not necessarily making great personal things when it comes to business. He does have those moments just like everyone. Like he didn't have to do that. He could have just like let Kevin Feige handle it, right? You know?
no, and illness and death kind of affects everybody. But it doesn't matter how much money you have or what titles you have. Eventually, that's kind of the same fate. So yeah, that kind of stuff does jar anyone from time to time, no matter how. Like even if you're the CEO of a Disney company.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was an interesting kind of you don't get Kevin Feige on the record nor that vulnerable at that point. So just it's kind of an interesting look back at there. But
And
that's our
maybe
only
some
news that
tips for James Gunn too.
yeah, again, there's something to be said. I don't need James Gunn to be Kevin Feige. I don't need Kevin Feige to
Nope.
be James Gunn. Just something a different perspective. So, but all right. So let us head into fact or fiction and listener questions. So, all right, let me pull up. I'm gonna get fact or fictions ready. Do you want to kind of read out some of the questions for this week?
Yeah, I got them right here. First
Great.
question from David. What
Long time,
nickname do you
long
think?
time listener, first time caller.
Yeah. uh, keeping your chair warm here, David. What nickname do you think Frank will call Spider-Man in Brand New Day?
Um,
I was thinking wall crawler,
yeah.
insect,
Webs.
webs. Wall crawler will get my vote, David.
Yeah, I don't know.
And,
It's a fun kind of fun kind of thing, you know.
and the next one is from Anthony Dorsey, who has a bone to pick with one of the two of you, not my list, thankfully from last week. He says, I'm a bit behind and just listened to this episode. It was such a quick lock, and I don't understand the reason to include WandaVision for the 10 Multiverse Saga projects to watch before Avengers Doomsday. I don't see how that show connects at all with what we know about Doomsday.
Um, I think the reason we jumped to a quick saying yes for it is because of one, we don't know the status of Wanda for Doomsday. She could be in it, she could be not, she could be referenced in it. But I think we said yes to it was because of her her abilities to kind of break reality and what it turned into that could be the beginnings of incursions because she was creating things that shouldn't have been created and the ramifications for that.
Okay.
So, you know,
Yeah, that
I don't know.
works.
What do you feel? Do you feel WandaVision's a must see for the 10 multiverse sagas you got to watch?
Mm, no, because there's so much change in the Avenger lineup that I don't think it, it's a fun episode, but I don't think a fun show, but I don't think that would be the greatest use of time if you're just picking 10 projects. I would probably pick something, it's a few other things before that. Maybe it might land in the bottom of the list, but uh, I don't know. I don't say because I would put Loki there before that.
Gotcha. Fair enough. All right. So, fact or fiction? So, this is from last week from you, and you're doing it again this week, as always, the guest. There will not be another season of Miss Marvel. 82% said fact, 18% said fiction. Yes, I am agreeing with you. That would be a fact, unfortunately, despite my love of that show.
Same.
Number two, Spider Man will have a speaking role in the next Spider-Man, excuse me, the next season of X-Men 97. 41% said fact, 59% said fiction. And I will have to agree. I do not see him having a speaking part whatsoever. Sorry. Sorry, Travis.
Yeah, okay.
And number three, Moon Knight will not appear in Avengers Doomsday. 68% said fact, 32% said fiction. Yeah, I don't see Moon Knight there. So,
Yeah, I thought so as well. So, my new ones.
yes.
So, to lead back to the trailer shot that we had, Daredevil will appear with Spider-Man to fight the Hand in the trailer in shot that we got, similar to the two Spider-Man showing up in No Way Home shot, not the actual trailer.
Yeah. Um, we would love it. We want to see a spider in the kitchen at that point. There's a spider in Hell's Kitchen. And people always go back to what happened this past summer with Daredevil with Brandon Davis and saying it was really cool to see, you know, Daredevil with Spider-Man and his reaction because Charlie Cox didn't realize what they were watching because he can't see it from behind the stage, and Brandon Davis was referring to um, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and just Charlie Cox's reaction was just like, "Wait a minute, that's a thing," like almost like, "Oh, we can talk about this now." Right? You thinking it was something else? Is Daredevil in Spider-Man? No, Spider-Man Brand New Day. God, the heart wants it. God, the heart wants it so
The
much.
showrunner or somebody associated with the show was interviewed a couple days ago and said a couple characters are going to find their way to Spider-Man from Daredevil.
Yep.
So,
I want it. I want to say fact, but it's not a hard fact at that point.
choose your heart, lead with your heart.
Yes.
My second one is Captain America will appear in the second season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be voiced by Chris Evans. I think it's gonna be voiced by Chris Evans Light. But yeah, I could
Just
see it.
because,
We
just
know
because we
the
get the
Avengers
picture,
exist.
we got
Yeah,
the picture of Norman with Captain America on the wall. So
yeah.
why not go a little bit further? And the final one, leading back to the trailer. Uh, trailer had it's basically the biggest movie trailer of all time at 718.6 million views in 24 hours. It basically doubled what Deadpool and Wolverine did. I'm going to just call this now. Spider-Man: Brand New Day will make at least $1 billion at the box office. It will be another $1 billion Spider-Man venture. You can check mark that, in my opinion, and place some bets on that.
Yeah, I got to go back to my beginning of the year fact or fictions because I know I had something very similar to in the sense of like what I predicted. So you're saying Spider-Man: No Way Home will
Brand New Day.
be excuse me, Brand New Day. Spider-Man: Brand New Day is the billion-dollar movie. Is what you're saying?
Yes, place your
Hmm.
bets on it. This is from the same person who 2.5 years ago told you to buy WBD stock, the DC Alliance listeners, when it was at $7. And yeah, you could have held it for longer than I did and just make $4 more than $4 a share. But that was besides the point.
So yes, I said only one of the MCU movies will make $1 billion.
Ooh, okay. So
So with the whole
I'm
idea
calling which
that
one.
you're calling which one at that point, well, it is since basically no one thinks that Dune or Doomsday is moving this to the date at that point. It is going to be interesting, and that could make Spider-Man being a character that is very world renowned, and they
He's
they
more
do love
popular
these
than the
characters.
Avengers. He's more popular than the Avengers with the general
Yeah.
audience. Like they'll know
So
Spider-Man before they know
I could
Avengers.
definitely see it, and so I'll go fact on that one. Just it's coming at the end of the summer. I don't know what's coming out after that could have it because obviously it's after Supergirl. So
Hmm.
I want
I
to
think it's
see
going to
what's
have the
coming
whole August to itself to just run
August
wild.
August movie releases. Let's see what's
I'm
coming
more
out.
worried about Avengers Doomsday becoming a cameo fest,
I wouldn't
being
worry about
like
that.
a.
I'd worry about Secret Wars becoming that.
I'm just worried one
So
of those films is going to give me Crisis vibes from DCCW.
let's see what's going on. All right, so it is looking like let's see 2026 American films 2026 racing in all right March. You wish you try to find something that just says 2020. Okay, here we go. We'll go to the Devil Fruit site. All right, Rotten Tomatoes. See what we got for anticipated projects of 2026. All right, so June, July. All right, August. We've got um, the Paw Patrol movie, the Dino movie. So no. Insidious: The Bleeding World.
No.
And Flower. Yeah, I think August is locked up. If those are
Oh
the
my God. August, Chris. There's a good chance September's locked up.
I'm
Oh my
trying to
God.
pull something else. I'm trying to pull
The next
something else just to.
blockbuster that I can say is uh, Street Fighter, maybe,
Yeah,
like,
I'm looking
or
up.
The
So we got.
Social Reckoning.
All right, so August 7th right now. Super Troopers 3, one night only, untitled Disney movie. August 14th, Flower Vale Street, Anna Hathaway, Ewan McGregor. August 21st, Mutiny, Insidious: The Bleeding World, Thread, Insidious Tale. Airbud returns. All right, there's your cliffhanger. So that's the
They crowdsourced
Howdy
that
versus
movie too.
Acme is coming out the end of August. So yeah, there is no AAA major blockbuster on that because the Odyssey comes out 2 weeks before Spider-Man: Brand New Day.
Oh,
So
Spider-Man Brand New Day is gonna go rough
after,
shot, rough shot
yeah, they're gonna
over
go after.
August and
So
September.
yep. So yeah, that's I was curious to see how much you said August is locked up like that. Okay, yeah. All right, so you got them all out.
Yep,
All
that's the
right, so
three.
we will post those on Sunday afternoon. Let your voices be heard. So, like I said, Comic Book Club will be back next week when we break down episode 1, possibly 2 episodes. I'm thinking it's right now. There's some debate of whether it's going to be 1 episode or 2 episodes coming out. But whatever it is, we're breaking down at least the first episode of Daredevil Born Again season 2. There may be 2 episodes. We'll break them both down, but that will be kind of the bulk of the next couple of weeks for Marvel Alliance. We've got content. We have content for a consistent basis. Sorry, DC Alliance.
So
You'll get
jealous.
yours. You'll get yours. You got lanterns in August. You
We
just gotta
gotta
wait a little
talk about
longer.
green. We gotta talk about this week. The color green and this annoying crap show that came from it. Oh my god.
No, you don't. You don't feed into that hate.
There's nothing else to talk about. Oh,
Yes, we've been, yeah. So,
it's
but
tough
anyway,
sometimes.
so yes, we will return with Comic Book Club, Age of Ultron, issue number 3 next week. So, but Travis, as always, thank you for 2 weeks on duty calls. David will be back next week, and but yeah, so tell people how they can follow you and plug DC Alliance
You can
and
find me on
and the
Twitter.
Animation Nation.
You got it. On Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about pretty much anything. Host 2 shows on the podcast network here, DC Alliance, where we're, like Chris alluded to, in a slow content space right now, but we have our 300th episode coming up where we're going to look at some old episodes and see how far DC has come. I also host the Animation Nation, looking at animation across a multitude of fandoms. Have done several Marvel shows, but right now we're doing the Batman from 2004. So be sure to check that
Nice.
out. Chris, thanks for having me. Happy birthday to you again, and what a
Yes,
great
thank you.
gift of a Spider-Man trailer.
Yes, I will take it at that point. But very excited as we march towards the first Marvel movie of 2026. So,
And $1 billion
but yeah,
one
you
at
can
that.
yes. So, but yes, you can follow me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can catch me on the Brave and the Boys every month, looking at the pre-orders that are live on Panel Bound Comics. So go to the Brave and the Boys channel for myself and my co-host Jake. We break those down every month. We're getting ready to actually cross the aisle in a couple of weeks. We're literally in the
Ooh.
middle of planning when we're going to go and break down the next round of DC solicits. DC is set to drop all their collected editions for the remainder of 2026 into 2027, and let's just say there's a couple of things I've been knowing about in that DC for a couple of years has not the collected edition department has not been doing well, but last couple of years they have put on a fire, and there's going to be a lot of fun to be had. In fact, today the second volume of Tom King's run on Batman in omnibus format has just gotten a date and is ready for pre-order. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. So
Well,
be on
I
the
know
lookout
where
for
some
that.
of my tax return is going to go. That's going to be processed in a week. So, yeah, okay. At least I know
Yeah,
that.
I like those pre-orders. It's gonna be a little bit. I don't know. Let me see. I'll pull that up on there. I'll tell you offline before you leave. So,
Okay,
but
perfect.
catch me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can email. You can check the podcast out on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can catch David at the Phantom. You can email the show at Marvel A Podcast, Marvel Alliance Podcast at gmail.com. You can tweet at the Geek Ultimate Alliance on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email, provide feedback, ask questions, rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, uh, all the places where you get your podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Post credits discussion. Thoughts, predictions on Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Hopes, dreams, fears.
Hope would be to see Spider-Man, obviously.
But
Just not happening, no. Uh, just because I made a fact or fiction about it, listeners, that's all. I wanted to be right about that way back when. I do think Kingpin is going to be behind the scenes looking like Spider-Man, the animated series Kingpin, by the end of this season. And I'm hoping to see the other defenders show up uh, to help Matt.
yep, I'm with you on that one. I think Luke Cage is very much. I think my dark horse hope is Colleen Wing. I've wanted her to come back, but I say it's more than likely that Luke Cage makes his return at that point. So
Do you have three of them come back and not bring back Finn Jones as Iron Fist at that point? Like, do you
correct.
just
You
really
want
you roll you do that? Okay, okay.
yes, you do that. It's just it's. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that I don't think anyone's gonna be. I think more people will be. I think there'll be more upset with my culture not coming back.
Oh,
You
I
know,
agree with that. I just think it'll be odd to bring three of those back. But well, basically not just three of those back. A lot of other people from that Netflix universe and not bring back.
well, I
Oh,
mean, you can
oh,
bring. I
it'll be
mean, they
tough.
are bringing back others from it, but I'm just talking about defenders wise. Yeah, if you're gonna leave someone out, it's gonna be Iron. Iron. It's gonna leave Finn Jones.
It'll
I
be
don't have
tough.
any hate towards. I'm just thinking
No.
if I think they set up a really good idea with Colleen Wing. Now I was really excited for how that season ended, that final season of Iron Fist with what they had Finn Jones doing. That got me a little more excited, but it's not to be. So
No. Too
um,
bad.
I'm hoping that we, besides seeing the defenders, I'm wanting to see another knockout drag out fight between Daredevil and Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
This season 3 finale. Um, I do
Hallway Fighter 2.
want. What's that?
Hallway Fighter 2 as well.
Oh yeah, Hallway Fighter 2. I would like to see Kingpin won. Now Kingpin needs to lose and lose badly. I
Yeah.
could see the first couple of episodes being the continued like how much he's doing well and people are buying into it, but then I want to see the cracks being shown and everything kind of going downhill fast and him just trying to grasp a hold on. I don't. I'm cautious about this whole idea of like we're here and say, oh, Bullseye's going to be redeemed. I don't want a Bullseye to be redeemed. I don't like that necessarily in principle, but I'll be wait and see exactly what do they mean by redeemed. Is this an enemy of the enemy is my friend, and then we go back to that idea. Uh, I'm looking for one of the biggest things is the disjointedness of season one. I want a through line through season two, a more consistent. Now, Brandon Davis had shared that he hasn't fully finished watching season two, but he did say that the first two episodes are a little bit more slower paced than he expected. But once they get that, it the gas starts being hit and it doesn't let go. Um, I'm excited for it regardless. I'm just looking for that consistency. I want I don't want this underground thing to be left us at the end of season two. I want Daredevil to be fully out there, not going in the underground. Matt Murdock back. Um, we know we're getting a season three. He's already in the middle. Charlie Cox already said he's in the middle of filming it.
Yeah, well, he
He's
was
in a
on
beard
Jimmy
right now.
Kimmel. He was on
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel's like, you just spent the day filming. So,
Yep. So yeah. But I'm excited. So we break that down either one or two episodes. We'll see exactly what they release. But we'll be back next week. Thank you again, Travis. Thank you all fans. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
bye,
Bye.
everyone.